My coworker kidnapped a kid, but now she's changing her mind. She wants to kick him to the streets. I'm calling the cops. Am I the a-hole? My coworker is kind of a weirdo. I will call her Mary for the sake of this post. Her and her husband are one of those people that have a ton of adopted kids. 8 so far.
That's crazy. Is that like one of those like hack schemes where you get money because you adopt more kids and like, are they trying to game the system?
And they're super religious. To each his own. Mary enjoys telling everyone at work her business. So when she decided to adopt a kid from Ukraine, everybody heard about it. She went with an older kid because it was easier for her and her husband, she says. This was 2 years ago. Mary has always asked me to babysit the boy a couple of times. I'll call him Tony. And it's never been a problem because I like kids. I didn't see any glaring problems despite Mary's constant dramatics about how awful the kid was, and he seemed to like being over. It's just me and my boyfriend here, and our place is small but clean and really well kept. Mary's house is disgusting, for lack of a better word.
I mean, I can imagine 8 kids just running wild.
Lately, Mary has been at work talking to anyone that'll listen about how awful Tony is, how horrible he is to the other kids, and how she's going to get rid of him.
Like, that's gotta be traumatic for the kid, right?
For sure. Like, she sent out a freaking mass email to everyone in our department asking if someone wanted to take her kid from her. Bro, she calls it rehoming and that it's okay. I logged onto Facebook today and same story. She has pics of Tony posted on her timeline advertising him for readoption and to contact her if interested.
Yo, this sounds like a dog. Here are pictures of this kid. Do you want to adopt?
I haven't replied to her email yet, and I haven't commented on her post, but I'm this close to ripping into her for what she's doing. She's crossed the line from weird into full-blown psycho. Should I call CPS? I called the police just now, but they sounded completely confused on what to do. They agreed to do a welfare check. This post is still up. Is this really legal? I don't know much about adoption, and a quick search for rehoming gets me mostly results about animals. Any advice?
Is there an update?
There is an update. I got personal messages from people that worked for local and state governments and private agencies that were outside of my state but offered their contact. Reddit coming in clutch, guys. Here we go.
Let's go.
I had people that spoke Russian and Ukrainian offering to help me contact their Ukrainian embassy and offered me contact information for embassy departments. People even contacted us offering money for Tony's immediate needs in the event we decided to take him in.
No way.
I'm sincerely touched by the genuine concern all of you had for Tony and his siblings. I hope one day I can tell Tony that despite everything that's happened, there's people out there like you guys that care about him. The information you guys gave us helped us act fast and got the ball rolling on the situation faster than me and my boyfriend would have figured out alone. I talked with the cops about the situation, and honestly, they were just as confused as I was. The person I talked to on the phone was just as stumped, but he agreed that at a minimum, they did need to do a welfare check. I've had experiences with welfare checks before, and I had the nagging feeling that something just wouldn't go right.
Oh no.
And someone personal messaged me the priority line for my state's Child Protective Services hotline. I got someone on the phone right away, and as soon as I mentioned that trafficking could be going on and that she advertised the kid on Facebook, it was a public post here too, people. They acted with a quickness. I gave them all the information I had on Mary and Tony and all the information I had from Mary about Tony's adoption. The person I spoke to right away said that she suspected that the adoption might not even be legal. I was floored. I emailed all the screenshots I had to the person I spoke with and asked for a follow-up if that was at all possible. I said that myself and my boyfriend were willing to take Tony on a temporary basis if necessary, but the CPS representative said that likely wasn't possible. Then the waiting game began. Last night was probably the most stressful night I've ever had. At one point, I was ready to drive out to Mary's house myself, but was stopped by my boyfriend. It was tough. The cops followed up with us at approximately 2 a.m. Note that I hadn't heard from CPS. The officer I spoke with was very cautious and limited in what he said, but he told me that CPS arrived at the home shortly after he did. In not so many words, he implied that Mary had been talking with someone about meeting Tony the very next day, and CPS's suspicions were confirmed. Tony's adoption was not illegal. Tony was rehomed to Mary and her husband from another state where placement needs to be approved by a judge.
They're like kicking the can down the road.
He didn't elaborate further except to say that other issues came to light and all of the children were removed from the home for their own safety by CPS.
Wow.
He didn't say how long they were there, but said it wasn't a long time, quote unquote. I was asked to drop off all emails and printouts to the station in the morning, and I agreed. My boyfriend and I wanted to make doubly sure that all of the cases were checked. So I called our local FBI office, who said they lacked jurisdiction in that matter, but would be writing up a complaint and referencing the issue to the State Department. We called the Ukrainian embassy and made a detailed complaint, and I included the contact information I had for the office from that apartment. Really hit the fan when I went into work to print out the email. Our company is pretty small, and the company owner, I'll call her Big Ange because of her resemblance to the Mob Wives lady, had gotten wind of Mary's email. Big Ange was furious and waiting at Mary's desk to see if she would show up for work. My friend reported that Big Ange waited from 7:15 to 9:30, and that Mary came to work with a sob story about how her kids were being unfairly taken away. Oh man. Mary wanted time off from work to quote unquote clear her name and quote unquote devote herself to reclaiming her family from this misunderstanding. I wasn't there to witness this, but Big Ange, who has 6 kids herself, apparently ripped Mary a new asshole. Mary has been dismissed, and rumor has it that Big Ange may or may not allow her to claim unemployment. Wow.
Big Ange is bringing down the hammer.
My head is honestly still spinning from everything that has happened. The past 24 hours have been insanity. I'm so grateful that the system worked as quickly as it did. I only hope it works out a long-term solution to this problem and that Mary doesn't get to reclaim her kids. My heart is breaking for Tony and the other kids right now. I don't know what the F was happening in Mary's house that made CPS remove them that night, but I'm going to sleep better knowing that they aren't with psycho Mary and her husband, at least for a while. What the future holds for Tony and the other kids, especially because Tony's adoption was apparently illegal, makes me sick, but I'm going to wish for the best. I need a damn drink.
That is crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I feel like it was the right move because it's like the consequences of not doing that, I feel like are too higher. Like the risk is too high.
I mean, these are children. These are innocent children.
I told my coworker what an idiot she is for her horrible baby names. I'm just a brutally honest guy. Am I the a-hole?
You know what they say?
What?
Honesty without empathy is cruelty.
I heard that honesty is the best policy. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, but if you're gonna be honest, you're probably also gonna be an asshole.
I cannot believe that there's a split opinion for this at my office, but here we go. A coworker of mine, 39 female, recently had twin boys after a long battle with infertility. She has made her first appearance into the office with her new babies to introduce them to our team.
That's the infertility jackpot right there.
When people asked what she named the boys, as up until this appearance, she was undecided. She told me that she was naming them Sean.
Okay, that sounds normal.
Terrible name. How dare you? So when I asked about the other baby, she said, no, they're both Sean. One with an A and one with an E. So there's S-E-A-N and S-E-E-N.
S-E-E-N? That is seen.
It's Sean.
That is
Sean.
Seen. You were just named your kid Sean and Seen.
The coworker's last name is also Sean. So when I pointed this out, she said, yes, it's like Tom Tom or JJ. I immediately and without thinking said, that is the most idiotic thing I've heard and it's going to be confusing. Oh, God. A bunch of people laughed and a bunch of people looked away. After she left, I got a few text messages saying, it's not my place to comment on people's choice of name. Am I the a-hole for saying that is a terrible naming idea? And some additional information. No, they don't have middle names. She wanted their names to be like Tom Tom or JJ. This apparently is not the first round of negative feedback she has had.
Oh,
Yeah. We're on good terms. We have worked together across 3 companies over 12 years. And she said it'll grow on you. The names are both pronounced Sean, like Sean, S-H-A-W-N. There's a decent, actually, amount of meat left on it.
Some meat on the bones.
Like everyone watching Sam right here
Is
is
it a
OP
dumb
the
name
A-hole.
or is it not?
I mean, it's definitely a dumb name. I mean,
Okay,
that's dumb
but
as...
question. If someone tells you your baby name and you think it's dumb as a brick, do you tell them to their face?
Hey, so we're launching Assholes Anonymous, where we read your stories live with you August 3rd. For first-time Patreon patrons, you can get a free trial. So be the first.
My coworker's husband, who is also a coworker, saw the post last night.
Oh, jeez.
Yikes. They had a good chuckle and ended up agreeing with the replies that the naming process wasn't ideal, and maybe the overwhelming process of having 2 newborns left them too tired to think straight. Despite the fact that they had already sent off the paperwork to Births, Deaths, and Marriages office, the place you lodge births for in Australia. They called up the Brisbane office and the paperwork had only been provisionally processed due to Christmas time, and they have used this time to reassess. They have withdrawn the paperwork for seen only, the S-E-E-N.
So there's still one Sean.
And they'll think of a new name, but they are keeping Sean as they like it. Have also been reported to HR for making this Reddit post, not by the parents. They think it's hilarious. So, well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. They also want everyone to know that calling her an idiot wasn't the worst thing I've said to her this year. And while I'm definitely an a-hole, that it's more of a general thing than being tied to this situation. Happy holidays, everyone. And there is a final update.
All right, let's blaze through it.
A lot of people wanted an update post on my meeting with HR for whatever reason, so here it is. But as expected, it was underwhelming. I met with HR yesterday. The meeting was pretty brief and definitely a waste of everyone's time. They asked if I was aware of the company's social media policy. I said I was, and I'm fairly confident that I hadn't breached it. They agreed I hadn't and asked me to be more considerate of my coworkers' feelings and to not push this meeting all over the internet. What are we doing here?
OB, they have your post.
I said, I'll definitely be doing an update, and that I'll be sure not to call the person naming their child Seen Sean an idiot. Again, I work in banking, and while there is a long way to go to fixing the culture across the entire banking organization, I think HR was just doing their thing and making sure I'm on notice in case, I don't know, I take a photo of me stealing candy from a baby while wearing the company logo or something like that.
Wow, that was quite the adventure. It was quite the adventure. But I think something I want to know from everyone else is, 1, is OP the a-hole? I think maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
But 2, what are the worst baby names that you've heard? Put your answers in the comments below. They gave their baby a dumb name, so I just pointed out how stupid and dumb that baby name is. Am I the a-hole? I have a tradition of making tooth fairy pillows for my friends and family when someone is pregnant. I embroider a fancy crest on it with the child's initials in the center. One of my cousins announced she and her husband were pregnant. They announced it online. And of course, I was excited for her. I messaged her and asked if she wanted me to make a pillow for her baby. And she said, yes.
Okay.
I told her I could make it now or wait until the baby is born and make it then. I always give people the option to keep the name a surprise. She wanted me to make it now so that she could show her in-laws, as the baby name was going to have significance to her husband's family.
Ooh, the tension is building.
Well, this is where it gets awkward. She told me the name, and it's a lovely name. However, the first name starts with an A.
Okay.
The middle name starts with an S.
Ooh.
And their last name starts with an S. I asked her if she really wanted me to embroider that on a pillow. She video called me at that moment, laughing hysterically, saying she didn't even realize and that she was going to have a talk to her husband about it and hold off. I go about my business thinking, phew, bullet dodge for that kid.
Yeah.
And then she and her husband would get a good laugh about their almost mistake. Nope. A couple hours later, her husband called me and laid into me about how the name chosen was special and I was trying to turn it crass and make juvenile jokes out of something that was so meaningful to his family.
You joked on yourself, buddy.
Yeah, you literally name your kid. He said a lot, but that was the gist of it. He told me I was an and that he didn't want my stupid pillow and told me to stay away from his family as clearly I had no respect for them. I honestly didn't realize it would be that big of a problem. I just didn't want to embroider profanity on a pillow. Not for a baby anyway. His reaction has me wondering if maybe my mind is in the gutter and I'm the only one who has a problem with it. So, am I the a-hole? There is an update, but John, what do you think?
I love how we're asking if he's the asshole for writing ass. That's so great.
Meta.
He was basically like, hey, are you just want
Do
to
you
double
really
check?
want me to put
Do you want me to put this on the pillow? I think that's fine.
Before I could decide what to do, my cousin and her husband called. For all of you calling him an ass, well, you were right. He is an ass too. The third, to be precise. Wait, they're all ass. He always went by middle name, so I didn't know. He's getting a lot of pressure from his parents to carry on the family tradition for his unborn son. He apparently was also bullied a lot in school for his initials. He was actually really sorry for going off on me. I guess my cousin called him laughing about it, and he didn't want to get mad at her, so he redirected to me, the messenger. Straw broke the camel's back kind of situation. He admitted he's got some issues to work through, but he gave me a proper and I feel sincere apology, and my cousin has promised me some of my favorite chocolate is on the way to my house as we speak. I'm relieved because I didn't want family functions to become awkward, nor did either of us want the wrath of our grandma to befall cousin's husband. They've been discussing it, and they're going to go with the name they actually like rather than making their son an They did ask nicely if I would still make a pillow, but after the kiddo is born, so his dad won't have pre-warning the kiddo won't be an also. And they have the whole name to figure out again too. I will make them the pillow after the chocolate arrives. Lol. I feel like that wrapped up in a bow.
It really did.
Nice.
I mean, the
nice.
fact, it was the trauma of being an ass.
Being
that
an ass.
he just, he couldn't help but unleash upon OP.
Yeah, he's still figuring out his identity.
That's exactly. Please share your crazy baby name and baby initials and your thoughts on the story. We just might read it in the next episode.
See you soon.